let's parlay this into poor coaching and how that does impact QBs across history, right? So it's not just Sam
Yeah.
Darnold, but so let's look at this. So I looked at the time period between when Sam Darnold was drafted in 2018 through Drake May's 2024 draft, and obviously the 24 class, we don't know what's going to happen yet. Those guys are still so young, but we'll make a little bit of an assumption on a few of those guys. So 27 quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round across those drafts, across those 6 seasons, I guess 7 drafts. 21 of those players started in 24 or more games in their time with their drafted team. So this is kind of weeding out guys with small sample sizes: Josh Rosen, Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, a couple others. So if I'm working with 21 first round quarterbacks that started for essentially 2 years, 11 of those 21 had a head coach and or offensive coordinator change after their rookie season. So just 1 year in, and the guy they were going to most for game plan, development, uh, um, play calling change after just one season. Those guys were Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Drake May. So out of those 11 names, what would we say? Like five of those 11 were successes to their drafting team, and that's like a shaky even number. One of those I counted as Baker because Baker was like, led them to some playoff success and some regular season success. And Trevor Lawrence had up and down success. I'm including him in that. But for the most part, those are quarterbacks that did not have successful tenures with their drafting team. Five additional quarterbacks had or are having a head coach or OC change after their second year. Kenny Pickett, Zach Wilson, C.J. Stroud, uh, Jaden Daniels, surprisingly, and Bo Nix. Also sneaky if someone's not paying attention. Joe Lombardi, OC for the Broncos, was fired. Um, Probably so they could just keep QB coach Davis Webb, but we'll see what happens. Two definite misses in that: Kenny Pickett, Zach Wilson. Three question marks because now we're not sure what Stroud's going to look like. Daniels, he was so injured, but he had such a great rapport with Cliff Kingsbury, so we don't know what that's going to look like. Bo Nix, we'll see. The only guys that essentially kept their head coach and OC for really their whole rookie contract for essentially 4 seasons for all these guys: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, and Jordan Love. Those guys had the same head coach and or offensive coordinator all 4 seasons, so essentially from the time they were drafted through their fourth year. Murray is a hit the way like Baker, Lawrence, and Stroud would be called hits, so we'll give them that. So that's 5 hits, 5 for 5. When let's stop there. I have some, of my own thoughts, but those are the numbers, right? 21 quarterbacks, 11 had head coach or OC changes after year one, five after year two, and then five guys had their same head coach or OC all 4 years of their rookie contract, basically. Uh, what thoughts do you have when I sent that over?
So there's two quick thoughts. I will keep them concise because we want to develop this conversation. The first one is if your quarterback shows signs in year one of being anything, and I mean anything, you know, guess what? The head coach has got a good 3 or 4 years to work with, and the quarterback should keep getting better because he already showed something in year one. So that's a great pairing, right? Whenever you show anything in that first season, I mean, a legit something, that coach and quarterback can carry on for 4 or 5 seasons, even if one of the others is limited, you know, whether it's maybe the coach in Cincinnati who's limited or whether it's the quarterback in some of the other places that's limited. If it shows, boy, you can carry that through. Both of you got some good job security there for a while, make a bunch of money too, and hopefully win a lot of games. The other thing that kicks in hard here, man, I mean hard, is the bad cycle that the bad franchises seem to stay in. So you consistently have either unstable, dysfunctional, or incapable franchises drafting at the top, grabbing all these quarterbacks at the top, and influencing all these statistics that every one of which we look at. Now, in some years, you may be drafted number one overall, and it may just not be a good quarterback class, right? It may be a group of limited QBs, and you take the best
Mhm.
one because you need a guy. You know, and in a lot of cases, they're walking into a roster that's not great and a coach that isn't great because coaches don't want to go to that organization and coach. So
Right.
it's a cycle that really badly repeats itself. And then sometimes you get lucky and you're drafting one of these, like you'd like to call them aliens, during every third or fourth season. You get lucky and have, because that's about it. Every third or fourth season, we get one of these quarterbacks that really truly is legit. He looks like he's got elite capabilities, right? So you get a little lucky there. Everybody else, man, they're just scrapping and scrounging, and these bad franchises are just cycling it all over again every 3 to 5 years. Ugly cycle.
Yeah, the chicken or egg concept came to mind for me as well, right?
Yeah.
Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow are three of the top four quarterbacks in the league. That tends to make a coach pretty safe, right? Love is a top 10 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Coach is pretty safe. Kyler Murray,
Yeah.
even before the injury, was considered like an above average quarterback, right? A top half of the
Right.
league kind of quarterback. That
Right.
gives you some level of security, especially when you're that offensive minded head coach and you're the guy that's putting together the offense, putting together the development for the quarterback, and you can see that direct line correlation. Um, but like with those guys have been really good with any coach. I mean, like you could even say Kyler being above average with Cliff Kingsbury, who like there was always dysfunction happening. Is like, shoot, maybe he was actually held back by Cliff Kingsbury to a degree. But he seems like the quote
Yeah.
unquote negative outlier for the guys that had stability. If you just grade it based on having stability, him kind of never really cracking that top 10 quarterback would be considered negative compared to the guys of that ilk, Allen Jackson, Burrow, and Love. But then, Herbert, Drake May, Caleb Williams seem like they'll be the positive outliers in terms of they had a change after their rookie season, but they still look like they're going to be good. Now, Caleb and Drake May needed it, right? Quite frankly, I do wonder, like I said, if they had let Gerard Mayo really have some time, and Alex Van Pelt is a guy that I think is considered like a fine offensive mind, so like maybe you could have continued to develop and do something there with Drake May, but obviously getting a chance to go to Vrabel and McDaniels is not anything you should pass up on. Caleb Williams, his whole staff got fired during his rookie year. There was no shot there, so obviously those two have significantly upgraded. But like Herbert, sneaky. I forget, was Steichen there Herbert's rookie season? Because if he was, it was him and then Lombardi and then Moore and then Roman. So he's had like four OCs in 5, 6 years or something. So now obviously he's gonna have Mike McDaniel, but that only even might be a year. Like who knows? Um, so yeah, I also thought about like the chicken or egg thing. Like how much could that be impacted? Let I want to push this forward a little bit now. I'm going to put you on the spot. And then we can come back to like this history aspect if you want to at all.
Yeah.
But Cam Ward and Jackson Dart were 2025 first round quarterbacks, and both are going to have new head coaches and new offensive coordinators in 2026. Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll for Ward, and John Harbaugh with, we still don't know the offensive coordinator in with the New York Giants because Monken's going to Cleveland. How do you think this is going to go for them? Where do you think they're going to fall? Is this a head coach OC change that will ultimately be more helpful for those guys, or do you think more harmful?
Well, it couldn't hurt in either case. I mean, just absolutely, it could not hurt. Okay, so
Yep.
I think both guys are probably. I'm sure they got attached to whoever they were working for, but both guys are probably ultimately at least going to have a chance to be better here, especially if the focus is on helping them. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend your top 5 pick or your top 7 pick on offense, right? I'm not necessarily demanding that, but what I will say, if I'm at all looking for Cam Ward or Jackson Dart to develop, have a chance, get better, and be our guy for the next 8 to 10 years, I'm going to develop as not every resource, but a lot of resources toward making that happen. For instance, I did a mock draft 2 nights ago for the Tennessee Titans, and I drafted wide receivers at the first pick and the second pick. I didn't plan that. That's just who was
Hmm.
sitting there. And I was like, why the heck not? Let's give Cam Ward these guys to work with.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you? Unless, somebody else on the defensive side is just sitting there, why not give him 2 more guys like a Carnell Tate? And I think I went with the kid out of Louisville, Chris Bell. I gave him both guys. It's like, let's roll with it. Let's give him
Heck yeah.
every chance to hit because it's the most important thing. And then same thing in New York, whether you draft offensive line, wide receiver, both, or you go over and get a guy in the secondary and then come back and draft, offensive line and wide receiver. You have got to put all the focus on making sure these guys hit. You've really got to. It doesn't mean you ignore the defense, but you've got to put a ton of resources it really does come down, I think, though, to the guy calling the plays, the offensive coordinator. I think that's the big one right there. So even though, I'm a little less thrilled with Saleh as HC of the Tennessee Titans, Dable seems to know what he's doing as offensive coordinator, laying a good foundation, working with the quarterback. So feel good about that. And we'll see who Harbaugh pulls in there for Jackson Dart. That one's still a little bit iffy, but I kind of trust Harbaugh to get that right. So we'll see.
I just thought of a OC for Harbaugh. We'll get to that. It's funny that Daboll leaves the Giants and Dart one 2025 first round pick, and he's gonna upgrade essentially to the rookie, to the number one overall pick in Cam Ward.
Yes.
But I love that situation. And I honestly love the receiver thing for Tennessee. We'll see who wins that battle of who they get to draft. But because Dable saw what Stephon Diggs did for Josh Allen, right? Getting that number one guy, and he had dreams of Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart this season before Neighbors goes out with the knee injury. So he's going to be like, listen, man, we need a number one dude to unlock this guy to do the things I want on offense, to do the things that are going to help make him comfortable. I mean, look at Drake May getting Stephon Diggs this year. Look at all these young quarterbacks when they have a guy they can go to, it makes a huge difference. Um, and for Harbaugh going to so it's funny that the Titans are upgrading by getting Daboll, but the Giants might be upgrading for Dart, not in the sense of what their schematics on offense are going to be, but having such a more stable personality at head coach. And listen, it's not that Harbaugh's like this nice, soft, warm and fuzzy guy, but we saw what Daboll was like from a personality standpoint, head coach. Now Dart, I think, loved it, and they had a great relationship. But you're going to put a better environment for Dart to succeed in with Harbaugh. I don't think this is going to happen because I don't know how relationships like this would potentially work. And considering it just didn't work for him in his last stop, but it would be funny to see Harbaugh go back with Greg Roman, with the who gets fired from the Chargers, but was his longtime OC. Roman, longtime Harbaugh guy, and Roman did a great job of getting, I think, both offenses with the Ravens and his time there and the Chargers to a nice baseline, right? A minimum level. Everybody just got hurt on the offense this year for the Chargers, but even those Ravens offenses, Lamar won an MVP with Greg Roman as his play caller and offensive designer. You might not get that final step, extra layer of what you want in the playoffs, but I do wonder if just like, hey man, we just need to put in an offense that Jackson Dart can succeed in. We can have a good run game. He can run a little bit. We can use the athleticism. I wonder if Greg Roman reuniting with John Harbaugh would be a possibility in New York, to establish that baseline. And especially because at this point in the process, Harbaugh thought he was going to have Monken. So I wonder how much he's kind of scrambling a little bit versus he's going to get the kind of person he wants right away. Um, but what do you think about that? Would you want Greg Roman in New York with Jackson Dart, or do you want Harbaugh to find something new?
At this point, given that a lot of the offensive minded guys have already found jobs, then yes, I'd be totally fine with that. It does set a good baseline there because I don't really think, and I'm not trying to slam Jackson Dart here because you know where both you and I were heading into him in the draft. He's been outstanding, but he really does strike me if he continues to pan out. You never know, but he really does tend to strike me more in the Eli Manning Captain America role there in New York, who is just going to step up in every big moment, but he may not be the Hall of Fame passer that some
Hmm.
other guys like, Peyton Manning was. Whereas Cam Ward, and again, I'm still not convinced Cam Ward is franchise savior material. It does look like you would be hoping that Cam Ward could really catch fire from a high volume
Yeah.
passing angle, which is why having Dable and having hopefully two more wide receivers for him to work with at some point, you would hope that would be the fuel for the fire there in Tennessee. So yeah, I'm with you there on Roman to the Giants.
Yeah. Floor raiser for the Giants, and then ceiling raiser for the Titans. Hey, don't be too quick to push out my guy Alec Iomanor. He might drop 10% of balls for a couple of years here until he figures that out. But that's a dude.
No, I still like him
Um,
too. I agree. Yes,
yeah,
totally.
you could have three receivers. It's fine. We'll be in 11. It's fine.